All right, men of leisure.
And our highly sophisticated women of leisure.
What if we told you
you could be 2 days ahead of everyone else?
While the rest of the world is waiting until Sunday, you could already be listening on Friday.
That's right. Subscribers get a 48-hour jump on every single episode.
Early access, early laughs, same ridiculous hosts.
It's basically like TSA pre-check, but for leisure.
Hit the subscription link in the show notes and secure your early boarding pass.
There's a kind of adventure you only find when you're not in a hurry. This is Road Adventures of Cycling Men of Leisure. Stories from the open road where routes are questionable, the stops are intentional, and leisure isn't a reward, it's the plan. If you're looking for speed, well, you're lost. But if you're looking for laid-back adventure, good stories, and even better company, welcome home.
Welcome to Road Adventures of Cycling Men of Leisure. I am excited again to be here with my good friend, all the way from Central Time, although I was just in Central Time, Mr. Michael Sharp.
Hey, Adam, how you doing?
Good. I am happy to see you. I'm hoping that something is good. Anything good in your life, sir?
It's rained here for the last 5 days. I've seen the sun for like 30 minutes yesterday out of 5 days.
That's better than not seeing the sun at all. Thank you. I appreciate something good. On a serious note, your daughter was in a play last night, so that's good.
Yes. Musical. So it was a very fun musical. It had like all the traditional Dr. Seuss characters in it. It was pretty good.
That's cool. And before recording, I asked you if she made any mistakes, and you said, not that I saw, so that's good.
It's the important thing. The audience doesn't know. Just keep going.
Still no luck on the JOB, but we're going to keep positive thoughts, so I'm not even going to ask you to insult you. That's just cruel, so I'm done asking you, but I'm just going to give people who are curious. We just still have people writing us for sure. I put a funny post when I'm traveling for work about where's Michael. I was back in Georgia. I said, Michael's missing. And we got some really funny comments. I mean, you call him Mark. I call him Matt. Said, look for some place with a high concentration of hoses, which I thought was really funny. Our teammate and friend Ed said that the milk carton was missing a broken clavicle picture on the milk carton. So
fair.
And I will not lie. I tried. Like, AI is funny. Like, it'll come up with something so slick willy, but then you try to like dial it down what you really want, and then you just like start arguing with it. I'm like, no. I mean, I wanted to have a debrim, and then it came back and said, what is a debrim? And I'm like, it is a sun visor, and it literally put this weird looking garden hat on you. I'm like, no. That's no. I'm like, here, let me upload a picture of a debrim. So I upload a picture of a debrim. And it said, oh, this looks very stylish. I'm like, that's what I say. And then, of course, I thought, oh, okay, I'm the only one who says that. But and then I said, exactly, it's very stylish. Now, can you put it on him with the milk carton? And literally, it has you on the bicycle. And right next to you was a debrim. Not on you, not near you, just like right next to you. I'm like, forget it. This is more effort than it's worth for a silly, stupid joke on social media. But it was kind of cool to see all of our friends. And Bill, who's got the chain gang team this year, he's like, are you in town for long? I'm like, nope. Like 45 minutes and I'm changing planes. So I was heading to Mobile, Alabama this time. Gotta tell you, that was my first time in Alabama. That was my first time definitely in Mobile, Alabama, hence the fact the first time in Alabama. Boy, they have a booming economy there. They're putting in a new stadium for concerts, new hockey team. I think it's a minor league hockey team, to be honest. But we did a lot of transit stuff, as you would expect. It's different than a conference. A conference is definitely structured where breakout session. The retreat is more of open conversation, open dialogue, and got some good ideas. Went to a really cool.
There is so much to talk about when it comes to transportation.
There's a lot to talk about in transportation.
Get on the bus, get off the bus.
Funding, the escalation. Working with
Get
your
off
partner.
the bus for de-escalate. Just get off the bus. See, I just de-escalated. Get off the bus.
So we were in a room, and I've said this for years. I know you know what I'm about to say. You've heard it before, but we were in a room, and they said, "How many of you used to be drivers?" Because this was more for transit managers. Not all, by the way, but mostly. And I said, "Oh yeah, I'll raise my hand." He said, "And how many of you had issues on your bus?" And one time, I had a situation where a guy was leaving court and probably had the worst day of his life, and so I was trying to be understanding, but he was just talking to me like I was dirt, and I thought, buddy, you can talk to me all this way. I mean, I control the bus. Like I could stop it right now. You'll never go anywhere. But then he stood up, and he said, and the guy said, well, how'd you guys handle it? I raised my hand and I said, I just brake checked him. And everyone laughed and said, no, what'd you really do? I'm like, I brake checked him. And he said, well, how'd that work out? And I said, he definitely caught himself on a couple seats and said, what the hell's going on? I said, oh, there was a pothole. And if you chased me any further, there's going to be more potholes. And I said, back in those days, our cameras didn't have audio. It just had cameras. And everyone just kind of looked at me. I didn't have a problem sharing the story. I thought, buddy, it's either me or him. He was going to come forward. But it was a good de-escalation class. Like one of the ideas was, have the rules to ride the vehicle. And then as opposed to, since the driver is a front-facing employee, of course, there's always management behind the scenes. There's a dispatcher on the phone, yada, yada, yada. But the driver is the forward-facing employee. And of course, you don't want to put the driver in danger. So one of the ideas was pretty cool where you put the rules to ride and then you put a QR code that says, this time you're violating and if you want to ride again, I recommend you. It was kind of cool. So just some good ideas. Good. I understand you think it's getting on and off the bus. I've offered you to drive the bus many times. When you
I think we both know I'd last a day. Get off the bus. Get off the bus. Buy yourself a car.
Oh, yeah. A true Democrat answer. No, just kidding. Buy yourself a car. Baloney. A true Republican mostly. But I'll never forget, as a sidebar, you definitely have quick-witted humor. And we rib each other all the time, and I appreciate it. I had a congresswoman come to my office, and she was my guest for the day. And I had done something innovative in my field, which was put together a special project. I'm going to kind of leave that out for a second, but not just for a second, I'm going to leave it out. But she came to the building and then she wrote me a letter and an official, congresswoman, memo, letterhead, the gold leaf and all that. And I showed you and I said, hey, check this out. It's pretty cool. And that project never went anywhere, but it was really cool that she was there and everything. But you go, of course. She's a Democrat congresswoman. Of course she would be there. I thought, oh, God. That's awful. So.
Well, it's just a statement of fact based upon political sides of the aisle.
True.
They tend to be more into that type of thing than the other side.
On behalf of Adam
and Michael,
we both want to say thank you
for your support.
So I want to get into listener spotlight, but I've got some funny stories from the road, and I think that's our life. Usually when things are normal, we're on the road together, but in replacing of that currently, while you are searching, and I know you're going to classes and everything. You've mentioned it before, and hopefully those classes are going well. But I have some stories from the road. But why don't we get into a listener spotlight first?
All
right. So I'm going to do my best here. I'm still in the basement, as you can see. I have never been home, although I did make some forward progress on the studio. I told you I'd give you an update each week. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is now time for listener spotlight.
All right. The clues for this listener spotlight are as follows. The city began as an agricultural area. Although it had an agriculture-based economy for decades, today it is driven by data. The story goes that lightning helped name this town. A major airport spurred this town's development. And the town was in the country for decades, but it was the home to a lot of soul. So
I am looking here. We did get a guess. So give me a second here. Littleton, Colorado. Littleton, Colorado. Kyle wrote us and said, "Hey guys, just got turned on to your show. I'm really enjoying the banter back and forth. My guest for this week's listener spotlight is Littleton, Colorado."
Okay. That fits several of the clues here.
Oh, don't tell me. I don't have my other board with the applause. Please tell me. Do I need the applause button?
No.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. In that case, wah, wah, wah.
No, it is not Littleton, although Littleton would fit. Littleton is a suburb of Denver. I lived out there for many years. Would fit some of these, but not all of them. This week's listener spotlight is Ashburn, Virginia.
Oh,
that's right. It started as an agricultural area. It was called Farmwell. It formed part of the border of the plantation economy back in the day. It is driven by data. It has the highest concentration of data centers in the world. It's called Data Center Alley.
Huh.
The story goes that lightning helped name this town, supposedly named after a lightning strike on an ash tree that supposedly burned for days. Major airport that spurred part of its development, Washington Dulles. Kind of a big airport. And the town was in the country for decades, but it was the home to a lot of soul. Wilson Pickett lived in Ashburn at the end of his life. And in case you didn't know, he was a singer-songwriter and major figure in the soul music world.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Huh. Very well. We appreciate everyone guessing and listening, but man, that's awesome. I remember when I guessed Seoul, Korea, and you were like, yeah, "No, stop."
No.
Well, thank you for our community for listening to that. I appreciate that. All right. Story from the road. I've traveled a lot. I think you know this, but my dad was a pilot for career and gone many places. Do you know, first of all, that a tornado touched down in Michigan yesterday? Pretty bad. Pretty ripped up a Menards. You will not be saving more money at that Menards currently. But I believe it's called Three Rivers, and southwestern part of Michigan. So we were coming in to DTW, and 100% fog. Clouds, fog. You couldn't see anything. And I had the window. I was sitting by the window seat and coming around, and bing, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to start our descent in Detroit. Which, by the way, living in Detroit has got to be one of the most depressing things you hear. Like, you never, like, when you go to Orlando or Tampa or somewhere fun or Mexico, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mexico, where the current time is 2:00, and you're like, come on, margaritas and senoritas. But you never have that same experience when you go to Detroit. You don't go, bing, welcome to Detroit, where the local time is 4:00. You don't go, woohoo. So
it's because nobody's going to Detroit for vacation.
That's true. That's true.
Nobody's like, hey, let's take the family vacation to Detroit.
Exactly.
No.
I mean, there's some good stuff to see here. Just to be clear, Henry Ford, beautiful museum, Greenfield Village. I mean, there's wonderful stuff to see in this city and this.
That's one. Okay.
A lot of distilleries. We've been to a lot of distilleries.
Yeah.
There's two. No, just kidding. Actually, downtown Detroit, they've spent mega millions on And downtown is really nice, but you got to kind of put blinders on to get there. But so, anyways, ding, we're making our descent in Detroit. Oh, all of a sudden, we're going down, and all of a sudden, it feels like a rocket launch. And pilot gives it everything, or at least I think he gives it everything, gives it a bunch, and we rise up. And right away he comes on. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a safety concern. Nothing to fear. Just want to communicate with you. We're gonna go back around again. Okay, well that's happened to me before. No big deal. And then we circle. You go out 5 miles, 5 miles, 5 miles, 5 miles, or whatever. I don't know what they go out. I'd be lying. I'm sure I could ask my dad, but I have no idea. And we come back around again, and we're coming down, and he says, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to reject landing, or whatever word he used. And I couldn't hear it 100%, but once again, like a rocket launcher, we go back up. And I'm like, okay, now I'm getting a little bit uneasy. I'm like, what is going on here? I'm like, dude, if you're not comfortable, I am not comfortable. I mean, buddy, you take as many times as you need. I don't care.
You get it right.
Yeah, I don't care how many times you take. You don't even have to tell me about it. Just keep coming around. Just do whatever you got to do. So come back down. And then they announce, ladies and gentlemen, in the southwestern part of Michigan, seems to be a tornado on the ground. It is causing some disturbance. We're going to go back around one more time. And I was just like, dude, you don't have to keep telling me that. And I don't know if I want to know there's a tornado on the ground. And then we get to the ground, and then, you land in Detroit. And then, of course, it's depressing, and you can't see anything, and the rain is coming down. And the pilot stands in the front of the plane, and he literally, blocks almost every passenger from getting off, and he apologizes. Like, I'm really sorry. I mean, I guess it's better. Maybe it's better that way than people, going to their computers, since everyone's such a busybody on their phone, in the airport. Send an email to Delta. This is ridiculous, So, but yeah, he would stop you, and he'd be like, I just want to personally apologize. And he shook everyone's hand. So, which, good and bad,
customer service.
Yeah, good customer service. But now the story.
So you'd rather be in the sky when a tornado is around than on the ground.
I would say that would be a good place to be, because if you can go rise higher, then you can be above it. So, but what's really sad is
5 miles from an airport, you're not going to be above it.
That's probably true. But what's sad is, I've talked to a few people now and told them the story, because my neighbor needed something, so I went and helped him last night. And he's like, could you see it? I'm like, did you remember the beginning of the story when I told you I opened the window and I couldn't see anything? I wish I could have seen, how they have those pictures of hurricanes, the eye of the storm, they look down?
Mm-hmm.
That would have been kind of cool just to be able to see it. But not cool for the aftermath stories that I'm seeing on the news this morning. And I really feel bad for those people, and I'll keep my positive thoughts for them. Your favorite airport. I know it's your favorite. You tell me all the time. We would look for Mike before he retired. Mike and Vic, we met in Georgia, and Mike was doing some first aid in the airport. We'd always look for him when we would change planes there. Until one day,
by bike.
By bike, yeah, he was doing it by bicycle. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, this is a cycling podcast. I forgot. But a leisure podcast.
I thought it was transportation.
But it is currently. I mean, we're not talking about business and architect. I wish we were. I mean, that would be a good conversation.
We're not talking about anything.
But we would look for Mike on his bike to be not providing first aid, but be trained to provide first aid. So I'm at your favorite airport, coming out of Mobile into Atlanta. I had 37 minutes between planes. I don't know why Delta does that. That's so crazy to me. So I was already, me. I mean, if anyone's ever met me, you already know my anxiety was a little bit like, okay, I need this plane to take off on time from Mobile. Then it's the time change. And then, okay.
What does the time change have to do with anything?
Just my mind, just to know what time I'm going to land, what time the next plane goes, what time I have to be,
But it says it on your ticket or on your phone.
Yeah, but I mean, I was sitting in my seat, and then I was just kind of processing everything, And so, and the plane lands early in Atlanta.
We need to get you some medication, buddy. Wow. I got to figure in the time zone. time zone's already figured in on the things. It's like, this is what time I land. This is what time I take off. I got 35 minutes. There's no figuring in the time zone. That'll just jack you up.
But I was looking at my watch, and my watch was still on Central Time. And so then I was like, okay, it's going to change to 11, and then I got to go to, whatever. So
you still have 35 minutes, whether regardless of the time zones or anything. You got 35 minutes.
We got to get you a job. You're just bitter.
Well, I'm just like, I got to worry about the time zone. It's like, no, you don't. You got 35
Would somebody
minutes.
give this man a job? I've offered him a job. He won't take it. Then again, I wouldn't move to Michigan either. Yeah. I mean, that would be depressing to move, especially since you probably had beautiful weather. So, although it is 68 degrees here today. So, so anyways, land early, right? Yeah, okay, fine. The time change is already done for me on the ticket. Sure, great. Point made. Got it. Clear. Mic drop. Land early. And I'm like, great. I don't know what I was worried about. I shouldn't have been worried. Why was I so worried? We get to the gate. Everyone stands up as they do. And the flight attendant looks at me and says, we're not going anywhere. I go, excuse me? And she said, they still haven't replied to our request. The jet bridge is way over there. And I looked out the window, the little bitty window, as big as a tin can. And I said, oh. And she said, you might as well sit down. It's going to be at least 10 minutes. So now, if you're doing the math at home, 37 minus 10 is now 27 minutes. I was in gate B and I had to go to D. And so I thought, nope, no problem. If the plane train is there when I go down the escalator, I'll jump on it. If it's not there, I'll make a mad dash on the moving walkways and I'll just walk. And so, okay, so that's great. So now I'm waiting 10 minutes. Now it goes 20 minutes. Now, if you're playing at home, that means I had 17 minutes. Now it's 25 minutes. Now I have 12 minutes to get off one plane to get to the next plane. And she says, they know you're here. And I thought she was trying to put me at ease. And I go, oh. I go, will they wait? She goes, no. It was like one of those things where, like, I don't know, it was like false hope. I'm like, oh, no. And so she goes, no, they know where you are. I mean, there's a controller up in a tower. She said, you see those mini towers? And I said, oh, yeah. She said, the mini towers control all of the people. The big tower controls the ground, and all the big tower controls all the planes. So finally you hear the bell, the ringing where the international sign of the jetway is coming towards the plane, rolls forward. And they make an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are trying to make connections, we'll let you get off first. We're sorry for the problem, blah, blah, blah. But the rest of you, if you don't have a connection, and if Alana happens to be home, which most people are probably not at home, I get that. I understand. Let's be realistic here. And of course, everybody stands up.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, are you people serious? So now the door opens, and I get off the plane. I look down on my watch in Eastern time that had already made the change, that yes, I understand the computer did it for me. I had 10 minutes to get from the jetway to the other plane. So I go downstairs, and the doors for the plane train are closed. There's no plane train around. Boom, I go. And I'm kind of running with my backpack and 2 laptops and all kinds of work BS. And I'm like, okay. And then I get to see, and no plane train, the doors are closed. Of course, as soon as I start running, I hear the doors open, but I'm like, whatever. And I come up the escalator, and I'm looking for D18. And luckily, it was like right there. And I turn the corner, and there's like a mob of people out there. And I go, all right, I'm good. And I look up at the sign, and it says delayed 45 minutes. But my app the whole time never said that. It said on time. I kept looking at my app as I was doing this ridiculous jog in the airport. But I get there and it says 45 minutes. It says we're waiting for a cleaning crew and a flight attendant. And I was like, oh, well, cool. I made it. And now I'm starting to calm down a little bit, Then the sign goes from delayed to on time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to announce the plane has been cleaned and we're going to board. All those need to pre-board. I'm like, just get me home. This is crazy. So I figured I would share some of those crazy traveling stories. But I thought of you while on my trip, and I have, for those of you on YouTube, you can see I have some. Oops, backwards. I have a document here. You have always educated me on history, a lot of history things. You've taught me things. Sometimes I think you make them up, but that's okay because I won't know the difference anyway. Yeah, I'll never know the difference anyway. We went to the USS Alabama, and it's a warship that was part of one of our networking things. We went there and we had a shrimp boil in the hangar because it's not just the USS Alabama that's at the museum. They have like a SR-71 Blackbird. They have a submarine. They've got all kinds of stuff. So now I took the tour, and I must tell you that those men who fought must have been tough SOBs. I'll tell you that. Cramped. It had to be loud. I could only imagine. There were 5 guys to a room that was the size of your walk-in closet. They would stack them, the gentlemen, up high. There was a ship store. It was just absolutely amazing. But I got some facts. But I wanted to tell you that we got to climb all around the ship. It's 100% open. I shouldn't say 100%. That's a lie. There's a few things that were sealed off, but I'll say 95% open. Wide, explorable. Got to climb up in the guns, which, oh my gosh. Armor-piercing bullets that are, I will get into that. I got some 2,700-pound bullets, 2,700-pound big. They had a sample of what they would have looked like. They were probably as big as your neighbor's mailbox. It's just absolutely amazing. But I was surprised that they only used it for 5 years. But I have some facts here I wanted to tell you about it. Since you're the history guy, I said, I have to take some notes. So I took some pictures of some plaques. I took some pictures that it's memorial, national memorials. Hold on a second. I'm going to blow the word. But I did take a picture because I knew I was going to forget. It is a National Historic Landmark. As of 1986, it became a National Park Service, United States Department of Interior. But USS Alabama was called the BB-60, and it was a South Dakota-class battleship of the United States. She was commissioned in 1942. You remember that, right? 1942.
Good year. A lot of jobs in 1942.
In the middle of the World War II. She was nicknamed the Lucky A. Now, because of history, instead of me just yammering on some facts, do you know why it was called the Lucky A?
No idea.
She had a strong wartime record and relatively low casualties compared to the many other battleships. Now, you told me this before I even got there, which I was pretty impressed. I'm like, he either has the plaque picture just like me or he knew. What wars did it go to?
You mean what battles?
What battles? Sorry, yes.
The battles that it was most known for were the ones in the South Pacific, and one of the biggest ones would have been, I believe, Marshall Islands.
This is correct. So the USS Alabama served in the Atlantic and Pacific theaters during World War II. Early in the war, she helped protect Allied convoys in the North Atlantic, including operations involving Britain and the Soviet supply routes. Later, she was sent to the Pacific, where she became part of the powerful U.S. fast battleship force. She supported attacks in places like Gilbert's, Marshalls, Philippines, Okinawa, and Formosa. Is that how you say that? Formosa?
I believe so.
Okay. The battleship earned 9 battle stars for her World War II service. She's 680 feet long. It was one of the longest At the time, it was one of the longest battleships. She weighed 45,000 tons, making her one of the most formidable warships in the era. She had 9 16-inch guns mounted on 3 triple turrets. It was really cool. I mean, I got a bunch of pictures. I should send you some pictures, but it was just kind of. I was surprised I had a wood deck, almost like cruise ships did. I was kind of surprised about that. I would have guessed different, but
Weight.
The weight.
Yeah,
gotcha. The 16-inch guns could fire shells weighing in around 2,700 pounds. In addition to the main guns, she had 20 5-inch guns for defense against aircraft and smaller surface targets. She was also packed with an anti-aircraft weapon. Oh, buddy, stop. There's my cat. Sorry. Anti-aircraft weapons. And despite being a battleship, guess how fast it could go?
It could go 35 knots.
Close. You are very close. It was 27 knots, which I did the math before our show. That's about 31 miles an hour. Being all steel with all weighed down and everything. I mean, that's pretty quick. So, it had 2,500 officers and enlisted sailors on it. And when you think about that, as I was walking around, I was trying to think to myself, where would 2,500 people go? But it was kind of interesting. It was 12-hour shifts, from what I understand from the tour guide, and of course I wasn't there. I have no facts. I'm just listening to the tour guide. But basically, you would have men who would arm the guns all day long, and then they would get the 12-hour shift off and 12-hour shift, go back and forth. So life on board was cramped, hot, loud, and highly structured, especially in combat zones. Sailors on battleships lived among giant guns, machinery spaces, sleeping bunks stacked tight together, and constant drills. She's a museum in Mobile, Alabama. Actually, it opened up in 1965, but so it's besides that, these are just facts you can look up online. But I wanted to tell you that I was thinking about you and all the history of things that you've taught me along the way. So, very interesting thing to do. Where that was transportation, I'm not sure. I'm just kidding. But,
Get off the boat.
Exactly. So, and then we went to a hangar, and there was shrimp oil, and this northerner who was sitting across from you and digitally sitting across from you had never been to an actual shrimp oil.
What?
Yeah, never have.
I have them in my house once or twice a year.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Sorry for
days when I used to live in Rhode Island. Yeah.
Looks like my cat is going to make the YouTube. So there we go. He's cleaning himself out. It's better than biting me, so that's good. Yes, this was I think, from what I understand, an authentic. They had corn, potatoes, some sausage, and the shrimp. They had these containers that may have been 30 to 50 gallons. I was speculating. I have no real facts on that. But as you walk by, they had them boiling, and they had a big old stir stick. And then they put these wooden, almost like 2x4 split in half.
Mm-hmm.
And then they clamped them down to each side of the table, and they put this plastic down on the table. And sure enough, they just took the pot and dumped it all on, and it just went boom. And then you just came by and like jambalaya, So.
Typically in traditional, they would put newspapers down on the table, and they would just pour them out on the newspapers in the middle of the table.
Okay.
I'm sure that this company has to follow some, health regulations and stuff. But no, that's how we serve it here. Newspapers aren't easy to find, but I get like brown paper, put down the middle of the table, and then I'll just, after you drain off the water, just lay it all out there, and you just dig in.
And what I'm about to, sorry about that. What I'm about to say is not offensive. I just want you to know factual data from me listening. It was really interesting to listen to the people who live in Mobile about stuff they put in their shrimp. Yeah. mean, it was really interesting. Like, oh yeah, we put rice in ours, or oh, have you tried broccoli? And one guy would go, broccoli? What are you doing? Why are you ruining a good shrimp? So it was interesting to hear the different things they put in the shrimp oil, and listening. And then like some guys say that cocktail sauce is off limits because that's not real. Cocktail sauce is not, you're taking away from the flavor, the Cajun flavor. And some guys are like, no, don't listen to that. He's like, that's just like barbecue sauce. Of course, we had some fun. And I said, wasn't barbecue sauce invented to help you choke down food that tastes like crap? And he's like, exactly. So, but yeah, that was my first time. And, there was a lot of work because some of I think the shrimp might have been overcooked. I didn't want to say anything because I was a guest, but it was really hard to get out of the shells. And I think usually that's I've been around the block a lot. If you overcook a shrimp, normally it's hard to get out of the shell. But I'm sure they probably also had to, because they were serving for 150 people, they probably had to make sure it got to a certain temperature for safety and all that good jazz. But yeah, that was right in the hangar where George Bush's helicopter was. And SR-71 is my father I grew up with my father and being in the Air Force. And it was interesting because it talked about how much fuel it leaked before it even got to the runway. For those of you who don't know, you can look that up on YouTube, or if you're interested in that. But yes, literally because of the way that the supersonic worked, the plane was actually leaking fuel on its way to the runway, which is crazy. But because then, of course, with expansion, then it would seal off once it got in the air. But check it out. This is not an SR-71 show, but please check that out if you're curious. It's absolutely amazing. But one of the pieces they had there was a submarine. And I have newfound respect for anyone. Yes, a battleship was probably miserable. The gentlemen who were on there, I understand that they're all passed by now, I'm sure, but or maybe not, maybe one or two, but I'm sure most of them are. But and I'm sure that those gentlemen who were on that battleship are all deaf and hearing loss and all that. But I must tell you, the submarine was really, really interesting. And talk about tight quarters. I have a newfound respect for anyone who did that. I would have went nuts. I mean, I knew that the boat was sitting on land, and I knew that there was a special dock, not dock, but a wooden stairway to get down into the submarine. And then we got to go through the whole sub. And then, but oh my gosh, you want to talk about like tight quarters, and
it's just a tube.
Oh man,
a tube is all it is.
The beds, there was a torpedo room. There was 2 torpedo rooms actually, front and back, and the beds were 5 beds, and I'm not kidding you, literally right on top of the torpedo. So you slept with a torpedo below you. And you took shifts. 5 guys would be back there, and not burgers and fries. 5 soldiers would be back, and then they would be monitoring. And then they would get relieved to the ship. Their shift. Excuse me. Yes. Sorry. The eating, the captain had a pretty nice table. I'm not gonna lie. In the center of the I'm sure it was still nerve wracking, but the curvature of the wall of the submarine, the beds would be there. So, there was no stretching out like on a cot. You probably rolled up to, I'm sure it was cold. I'm sure it was miserable. It was crazy. But, and I was crawling halfway through, and I was like, I have a little bit of like claustrophobia right now. I know it's on the ground, and I know that the top was sealed. Welded open. I'm sorry. They had it where if you ever go there, they have it where you can go down in the front and then you not crawl, but you climb through the back and then you come up. And those 2 things were welded, and I saw that, but my mind was still like, it was just kind of claustrophobic. But I just wanted to share those things with you because I thought about you a lot when, your history and things that you know. And if you find yourself in Mobile, Alabama, sir, with the family, because I know you guys like to take road trips and drive, which You may have something there after this last trip, but just wanted to tell you about that. So,
Yeah, I've been on one. I think it's called Seawolf Park. It's in Galveston. They've got a I don't remember which submarine it is, but yeah, it's just literally it is a tube.
yeah.
And the guys ate, slept, and drank right in that little tube, and it's claustrophobic, absolutely. But another interesting point about military is, every ship has a name plaque. They're generally bronze, and they're generally like right on the, when you're coming up the walkway to board the ship, it's generally like right there, and it will say like the name of the ship and then the DDG number. It's classification number. I actually own one of those from the USS Chandler.
Really?
I bought it at an auction, and I'll have to do a picture of it. It's hanging on my wall here, just to my right here. And it's got the USS Chandler. It's got their special insignia, and it was DDG 996. And it was originally made for the Iranian Navy, and then the Iranian uprising occurred, and then the United States government took it over, ran it for a few years, and then we sold it off to the Chinese. But it's kind of cool. I'll have to take a picture and put it on the website, but it's just kind of neat.
That's cool. Yeah. It just one of the things that here you had a bunch of guys who and ladies, by the way, there was transit ladies there as well. But we were going to the social gathering. Both nights had a social. One was at a brewery and with food trucks, and then this was shrimp boil with the history. And most people are like, oh, because you've been listening to conferences and retreats and whatever. I mean, breakout sessions all day, and so you're like, we can unwind now. You went upstairs and you got out of your monkey suit. But normally you go to these things and people are like, oh, and you got drinks in your hand. Everyone was just like somber. It was like one of these things where people were just walking around like you didn't know how to act or react because it was, that it was in World War II, and that, the men who fought on there, I'm sure, it's a miserable life. And so it's kind of like one of those songs until they put the shrimp boil out. And then, of course, everyone went back to, there's food and drinks. So
maybe it had something to do with they've been sitting around listening to de-escalating transit issues all day.
God, you know what? I may just reinstall my sensor button down here.
I'm just saying, it's like after 2 hours of listening about transit stuff, it's like, okay, I'm over. It's a bus. You drive it point A to point B. We're good. Let's go eat.
Well, anyways, so if you do find yourself in Mobile, I recommend the Oyster City Brewery. Really cool place. Really, really neat brewery. So a lot of, outdoor picnic tables, but inside, and then really cool, really neat. That was pretty cool. So it's right downtown, which really neat. I also learned, being ignorant, that was the birthplace of Mardi Gras. And here's a little trivia for you, sir. I love the trivia. Do you know what they throw on Fat Tuesday in Mobile, Alabama for their parade? Or like a gift?
They throw those little plastic babies that you find in king cakes.
No. And I don't
know.
Moon pies. Moon pie, and listen to this.
What?
I'm serious. And the reason why I throw the moon pie, I had to learn this. I mean,
this is not historical, obviously, but that's okay.
No, but they recently, I guess,
Okay.
And then there's a bank that has a moon pie sign that they, like, how you drop the ball every year, and every year they drop the moon pie sign, lowered or whatever, on New Year's Eve. And so, but yes.
Why moon pies?
If
I remember right, moon pies came from like Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Well, here's the thing. You're not wrong about the moon pie. I had to do some research on, like, moon pie was originally invented for And if you don't know what we're talking about, a moon pie is a marshmallow treat. They make them in vanilla, banana, chocolate. If there's more than that, I don't know.
It's marshmallows, like it's round. It's marshmallow in the middle, and then I think there's like 2 round graham crackers, and then it's covered in traditionally chocolate or vanilla chocolate. Yeah.
So the moon pie originated in 1917. Traveling salesman for coal miners. And that's what we learned. That was everywhere. Everywhere we went to was how the moon pie was actually made for coal miners. And because they needed a snack, the large graham cracker sandwich filled with marshmallow dipped in chocolate, and the name is moon pie. 2 round graham crackers, marshmallow filling, chocolate coating. Also, now they have banana coating and, yes, vanilla coating. The original moon pie cost about 5 cents. It says the moon pie. It says
drink it with an RC cola. That was the big
yes
promotion back in that day.
Yep. Now you just lost everybody because most people don't know what an RC cola is, but I do. IGA used to sell them. So.
Yep. Royal Crown Cola. It's an old cola brand.
So, anyways, I was kind of like, I looked up at the bank because I was doing my workout, and then I looked up at the bank and I saw the moon pie sign. I'm like, wow, is that like the headquarters of Moon Pie? Well, no, it was a bank, and so I had to ask, and the lady said, "Oh, yeah, we're pretty known for our moon pies." She goes, "You can't go anywhere without finding a moon pie." Sure enough, the hotel had moon pies in the lobby. The lounge upstairs in the Marriott had moon pies. Everywhere we went.
But what's the connection between moon pies and Alabama? Because I'm going to say in Mobile, certainly there is no coal mines in Mobile, Alabama. I mean, unless you're doing it with scuba gear.
I believe it's because during Mardi Gras on Fat Tuesday, that's somehow it came synopsis of throwing those because you could throw them without getting hurt. So I'm searching right now because of your question.
Throw them without getting. Okay. I mean, you could throw a lot of things without getting hurt. I don't think moon pies would have been my first choice, but I mean, they're good. They're a little dry.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Mobile has the most unique tradition in American festivals, throwing moon pies during Mardi Gras parades. How it started. In 1940 to 1950, somewhere in there, Mardi Gras parade riders needed an inexpensive item to toss to crowds. Originally, they threw Cracker Jack boxes and peanuts, but these could hurt spectators when tossed from floats. Parade organizers began looking for something soft, affordable, and easy to throw. Enter the moon pie. The soft marshmallow snack made by a Chattanooga bakery was perfect. It was cheap, individually wrapped, lightweight, and soft if it hit someone. By 1950s, moon pie became the original parade throw, a Mardi Gras staple. Today, millions of moon pie snacks are thrown every year during the Mardi Gras parades in Mobile. The city's New Year's Eve celebration even drops a giant electric moon pie instead of a ball. Fun podcast-ready facts. Mobile claims to have the oldest Mardi Gras celebration in the United States, dating back to 1703. Thousands of moon pies were flown. Banana moon pies became especially popular in Mobile because of its locals loved the banana flavor. This is interesting. I did not know this until I just sat here and read it right now. If you catch a moon pie during Mardi Gras, it's considered a badge of honor because they throw so many of them that you can't catch them. It sounds like. But yes, this is all the stuff that I learned. I learned some transit stuff too. For those of you listening from my transit life,
no one cares.
There's a lot
Get off the bus.
Anyways, there you go. There's your moon pie, Mobile, Alabama. But let me tell you something. They got a new airport going in there because one I was at was 40 minutes away from the hotel, which was crazy. But then they're building a brand new one. They had the visitor center. The guy was a keynote speaker for the second day, and he's like, "I want to thank you all for coming to Mobile. And the next time you come, our new airport is just a mile down the road." Well, that's great because the one I'm at is 40 minutes.
Well, Mobile is going, as I understand, is going through a big renaissance, I guess, so to speak. Tourism has always been big there, but I think they've really hit a a high on their tourism. They are a lot cheaper to go as far as when you want to go to the Gulf Coast than a lot of places like, say, down in Florida and Destin, or certainly New Orleans or things like that. So it's a more economical place to go. And I think they've really keyed in on that and started getting a lot more tourism.
Amtrak was there, and I guess I didn't know this. I mean, I should have, but we don't actually do any business with Amtrak. So, but they are calling themselves the new era of train mobile transportation. They're trying to rebrand themselves with new trains, new brakes. One of the biggest things they kept talking about was the brakes, which I was like, do you expect to need them a lot? I'm just kidding. But
why don't they just make their trains run on time? That's the biggest problem.
That would be good, because every time you take an Amtrak train, we have a Wolverine that goes from Ann Arbor, hence the
never on time.
Never on time. You can go to Chicago, and many times the track is busted up between here and there, and you have to get off and switch to a bus. It's a pain. I wish I was lying. I wish I was lying.
That's because bus transportation people go tear up the track so they can keep their jobs. We'll show those train people.
I never thought of that, but I wasn't in transportation the last time I did that. So, at least not in management. But what I learned about was an interesting thing. They recently started, how recent I can't promise you, but they recently started this Amtrak train from Mobile to New Orleans. And that's where it goes. And that's where it stops. The train literally stops at the convention center, and it sits there. And they expect 75,000 passengers. But because they now have cruises going out of Mobile, they got 150,000 passengers, because people just didn't want to drive their cars or whatever. They could take the train, and then the cruise
from New Orleans.
New Orleans, yep.
Why don't they just leave from the New Orleans cruise port?
Because sometimes
you get a lot more options and things.
True, but sometimes you go on a boat and it says, it's like, this ship is going to go to Galveston or whatever. But yes, Mobile is definitely pushing themselves. I know you're trying to be obstinate today, and that's okay.
I'm not trying to be obstinate today. I'm just like, I got nothing to do all day but just like sit around and bang my head against a wall. So
okay, well, what I'll tell you is they have got 2 cruises now that are going to be going out of Mobile shortly, so yeah, they're really pushing everything. So it's kind of interesting. That's why the transit retreat was there, because they do have transportation there, but of course it's like, how do we make it bigger, better, better? And so, really interesting. I mean, but good trip. But I just the history of the Mobile and the moon pie and all that is really what I
did not know that. It's different than what was the other one, the one where they dropped the lettuce.
Oh yeah, it was Yuma.
Dropping the head of lettuce. I like the moon pie idea better. A little more, easier to clean up afterwards.
So you mentioned Yuma on the last show, and I was fueling a vehicle at work, and guy came and he says, I'm going to Arizona next week. And I said, oh yeah, where are you going? And he goes, Yuma, my son's moving there. And I was like, what? We just talked about Yuma. So
they drop lettuce on me.
Yeah. Well, I know that you've got an interesting story, and then we can bookend this thing.
I think I'll just hold that story till next time.
Okay. Yes, sir.
It's a cycling story, kind of inspirational. I think we'll hold it for next. I think it'll be a good thing for next week or next episode.
All right. Well, in that case, should I give you my famous here?
Do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for Listener Spotlight.
All right. The clues for this episode's Listener Spotlight, or next episode's Listener Spotlight, are as follows. This town was created as a key river port. It was created by the unification, or through the unification of 2 separate towns. It is named for a military hero of the Revolutionary War. It holds a specific historical cavalry fact from the Civil War. And the town knows a little something about special operations.
Man, I want to say St. Louis. Okay.
Tell me about the historical cavalry history of St. Louis.
Anyways,
Civil War.
Yeah, that's all.
When General Faulkner took his, Union cavalry and charged into St. Louis to take it over.
You see this guy here? For those on YouTube, right here, what he's doing? He's sleeping. That's what I must be doing because he doesn't buy into my crap either. So,
I just made up the whole Faulkner thing, so that's not real. But anyway, Shiloh.
Well, I was thinking when I was a
Shiloh's not a town, but it is a battlefield.
Yeah, I went to Shiloh. We actually, I don't want to say hiked because that sounds really horrible, but we walked around. Yes, so we walked around, and then they actually had us go to a field, and they let us search for. It's not a bullet, right? It's a
ball.
Mini ball. Yep. None of us found them, but they were all in the gift shop if you wanted to buy one. So,
well, yeah, that's just to get you excited because the guy that normally goes out there and seeds that field with fake Civil War mini balls didn't make it in that morning. So you guys are out of luck.
Yeah. Well, listen, it was a good time, but
yeah.
Also, I don't think I ever told you this, but you want to bring in scouting? We'll bookend it with this. We actually hiked the 21 miles in one day, sir. In one day, believe it or not, was the route that President Abraham Lincoln took to get to the library. And so that was actually, we were able to hike
get to the library?
Yes, sir.
Any particular library or just a library?
I believe it was a library where he taught himself.
The question is, why didn't he just take the bus?
The whole point was to find out what it took, and I mean, you're supposed to think about President.
I doubt he didn't do that every day.
I'm sure not. No, because we were, as a matter of fact, we had of course, Scoutmaster had his training, and we would go out and do. One weekend we did 5, and the next weekend we did 7. Next weekend we did 10, and I mean, it didn't just make us do 21 miles in one day. Like, here, go for it.
Death March.
Yeah. But it was kind of neat, and then we got a medal, and I was able to wear that on my scout uniform, so that was kind of cool. So.
Is this the guy that I met?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. The one who should never be driving again, Uncle Jim.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I bet him.
Yeah, I love him, but yeah, sometimes people should use public transportation. So,
yeah, if you say so. But I don't believe necessarily that he walked 20. There's so many historical facts, I guess, or what we take as facts that aren't really facts. It's like, do some research. You want to do some research on the cabin that Abraham Lincoln was born in. You'd be a little disappointed, especially considering when you see the pictures. It's like, this is a cabin that the president was born in. Was it really the cabin the president was born in? I'll just leave it at that.
The famous story about Abraham Lincoln describes how he once walked 21 miles to return a borrowed book.
Oh, once walked. Okay. Just like George Washington once chopped down a cherry tree. Did he really?
As a young man living near New Salem in 1830s, Lincoln borrowed a biography of George Washington called The Life on Washington from a neighborhood named Josiah Crawford. One night, rain leaked into Lincoln's cabin and damaged the book. Feeling responsible, he walked nearly 21 miles to the Crawford farm to return it and apologize. Crawford reportedly told Lincoln he could work off the cost of the book. Lincoln spent several days doing farm labor. This is not what I remember at all. Now that makes him honest Abe, and he walked 21 miles to return a book. But I guess my scoutmaster was like, we're going to do it. He was a big Lincoln fan. He had a big picture, not a picture, but a sketch.
Lithograph?
Yeah, lithograph sketch of Abraham Lincoln. I must tell you, it was really neat. It was very detailed. So, it's
just like the things it's like, it's now, if you do research, you realize that Abraham Lincoln there's a lot of evidence showing that he could have in fact been a illegal distiller, and that he was in fact serving illegally distilled products out of the drugstore, the store that he worked at.
Are you telling me that a politician was crooked?
I didn't say he was crooked. I just said
I mean,
there is a lot of evidence and he did live in Kentucky, that he was distilling illegal hooch.
You know, he gave the theater a bad review. That was pretty bad. So.
Wow.
I think on that note, we will.
Wow.
Yeah. I think on that note, we'll say, believe it or not, here in Michigan would have been a great day for a bike ride.
Thank you for riding along with Road Adventures of Cycling Men of Leisure. However you travel, find the leisure your way. See you next time.